This is Radhakrishna, lecturer in computer science, here on GCAT Chambers Degree College, Palakol. Today, we are discussing third video from Distributed Systems, final BSc Computer Science, 6th semester cluster. In this video, I am going to explain the following contents: processor pool model, hybrid model, issues in designing distributed system. These topics we are going to discuss in third video. First one, processor pool model. Please observe this diagram carefully. This is processor pool model diagram. This diagram contains several workstations, different servers like file server and some process also. So let us discuss how this processor pool model works, how it constructs and how this works. This is most useful when user requires large amount of computing power for a short time. Instead of allotting a particular processor to each user, processors are pooled. Here, pooling means grouping number of processors as a bunch. So, if a particular user wants more computing power, that means he wants much more capacity of the system, and if the system is not available, in this case, number of processors can be grouped as a single unit, and the capacity of all the processors can be merged, can be grouped as a pool, and that capacity can be used to perform or to complete a particular task. If you observe this diagram, here these are the workstations connected with the help of communication network. Of course, some servers are there, and these are pool of processors. Number of processors are grouped here as a bunch. So this is processor pooling model. In this pool of processors contains large number of microcomputers and mini computers. Number of microcomputers and mini computers will be grouped, and that group can be called as a pool. That pool may contain number of microcomputers or number of mini computers or combination of micro and mini computers. Next, each processor in the pool has its own memory. Every processor will have its local memory, and the system programs will run and will load and run from that memory. So the concept will be explained as each processor in the pool has its own memory to load and run the system of the distributed computing system. Each processor in the pool will have the memory to load and execute the programs. At the same time, Omeba, Cambridge distributed computing system are the best examples for processor pool model based on distributed systems. So this processor pool model can be used when the user requires much more processing capacity. Suppose you have little bit of processing capacity in the systems, and you need much more capacity. In this case, you need not arrange extra systems. You need not arrange extra capacity systems. Simply, these processes can be pooled. Available process can be pooled as a group, and that group can be used. Please study this diagram once. It's very simple architecture. In this, workstations also use several servers, file servers, run servers. All these servers will be used, and some pool of process also used. So this is the explanation. Please study this. So in this model, every process must have memory also, because all these programs must load into memory, and from there only these will be executed. And one more distributed model, one more model for distributed system is hybrid model. As we know, hybrid means combination of many. Hybrid means if you take good qualities from different locations, if you take good qualities from different components, and you have to merge all those good qualities into one thing, then it is called as hybrid. If you take good qualities from several items, and if you club all these good qualities into one item, then that good quality item will be called as a hybrid model. Similarly, here also, what are the advantages? Here, advantages of the workstation server model and processor pool model are combined, because workstation server model will have so many advantages than the remaining models. Similarly, processor pool model also will have some advantages. So, good qualities, advantages from workstation server model and processor pool model will be taken, and these will be combined, and a hybrid model will be created. Actually, with the help of these good qualities, this hybrid model will be built on the workstation server model with pool processor model. So it is built on workstation server model with pool process. So pool of process will be used, workstation server architecture will be used, workstation server architecture capacities, good qualities will be used, and good qualities from processor pool model also used in this system. And we have to discuss, we have to observe some other good qualities, some other items about hybrid model. Let us see. Process in the pool can be allocated dynamically for large computations that cannot be handled by workstation. So, if you use this hybrid model, process in the pool, that means process in the group, will be allocated dynamically. Dynamically means automatically without the user interaction, with the help of some algorithms. Some required number of processes will be allocated from the pool. From the pool, some process will be taken. Number of required process will be taken. These will be calculated, and these will be allocated dynamically. This cannot be handled by human. It will be automatically taken by the programming or algorithms. And this model is most expensive, of course, because this hybrid model will have very good qualities from server workstation model and processor pool model. So if you want to combine the good qualities from these two, this is very much expensive. But this is very good model for large systems. These are different types of distributed computing models. Till now, we discussed different types of computing models: mini computer model, workstation server model, processor pool model, hybrid model. Like that, we discussed several distributed system models. Issues in designing distributed system. Designing distributed system is not a simple concept. While designing distributed system, the designer must concentrate on several issues. So all these issues must be successfully handled. So what are the issues the designer must concentrate while designing a distributed system? Let us discuss each one. Issues in designing the distributed system. Most important issues are transparency, reliability, flexibility, performance, heterogeneity, scalability, security, and emulation of existing operating system. Please study these issues once again. We must know all these issues carefully. We must discuss each and everything. First one is transparency, reliability, flexibility, performance, heterogeneity, scalability, security, emulation of existing operating system. Let us see each one. First one is transparency. What is transparency? First one, the main goal of distributed system is to make the existence of multiple computer invisible and provide single system image to the user. This is very, very important. In distributed system, the task will be executed at several locations. A particular process will be executed at different locations because in distributed system, different machines, different equipment will be located at different areas. Geographically, those will be at different areas, maybe in different countries. A particular task will be shared among all these or among some of the equipment of the distributed system. Here, the main goal of the distributed system is this concept must be hidden. Users should not know where a particular task is executed, where the task is completed, from where the results came. He should not know. That's why here the first concept, the first important point is the main goal of distributed system. Please study this one. The main goal of distributed system is to make the existence of multiple computers invisible. Of course, in the distributed system, there will be so many computers. There will be so many machines. We may use so many machines. So we may use so many equipment. So the existence must not be visible. It must be invisible. And the user must feel this. The user must feel that this is a single system, not number of machines. So the user must feel the entire system as a single. So that is first one, transparency. And the next one is the transparency is some aspect of the distributed system that is hidden from the user. So the data, the details must be hidden from the user. Here user means the programmer or a system developer or application. This information must be hidden. For example, suppose if you are trying to search google.com, suppose if the user tries to search for a particular topic in google.com, the user must not know from where the data, from where the results are extracted. That's why while user hits search in google.com, they never notice, would never know, get details. User never notice that their query goes through a complex process. Actually, if you try to search Google, a complex search will be performed. That search will be performed among number of servers with the help of number of algorithms. It is very complex searching, but these details are unknown to the user. Simply, we are getting the results of our search only, but we are not aware of the details what's going on inside the searching. What are the machines involved in our searching? How many servers are searched? What are the algorithms used? What are the programs used to search our details? We are not getting details about all this. Simply, we are getting the results only. So, this is one of the example for transparency. That means the user should not know what's going on inside. Simply, he should get results only. He should feel this entire one is a single system. That is transparency. And again, this transparency can be discussed in another way. There are several types of transparencies. We have access transparency, location transparency, replication transparency, failure transparency, migration, concurrency transparency, performance transparency, scaling transparency, and these are different types of transparencies we have. Let us discuss each one. We already discussed about what is transparency. Transparency means details should not be revealed. Inner details should not be revealed to the user. While handling this transparency, several aspects must be taken into care. First one is access transparency. What is access transparency? Access transparency means that the user should not need to recognize whether a resource is remote or local. The user should not know from where he is getting details, which resource he is using, whether he is using resource from local or remote. Suppose if a user try to search for better data, of course the data may be available in his local computer or maybe at a remote server. He must get details only. He should not know the details regarding the data is from local computer or from remote computer. That's why from where he is accessing data, those details should not be revealed. So here access transparency explained as access transparency means that the user should not need to recognize whether a resource is remote or local. That is, user should allow to access remote resource in the same way as local resource. He must able to access remote details. He must able to access remote resource. Of course, that resource may be in some other country. Even those resource, even those details, even those resource are in some other country, he must able to access those resource as local resource. He should not know the difference. That is, these details came from some other country and these details are from local computer, like that. He should not know details. He should not get any difference between remote details and local details. You must able to access remote details same as local details, local access. That is access transparency. And next one is location transparency. This location transparency will have again two aspects. One is name transparency, another one is user mobility. What is the name transparency? In this, any name the user may use. Location transparency. This is another transparency. In this location transparency, there are two main aspects. Those are name transparency and user mobility. What is name transparency and what is user mobility? Let us see description about name transparency. This refers to the fact that the name or resource should not reveal any hint as the physical location of the resource. The name should not give any details from which resource the details are extracted. So, the resource name should not be revealed from which resource the details are extracted. That's why in name transparency, it's very clearly given. This refers to the fact that the name or the resource should not reveal. That means, if anybody using the name, they should not able to get the details of the resource. Should not reveal any hint as to the physical location of the resource from where the details are available. Those details must not be extracted with the help of name. That is called as name transparency. And another one is user mobility. What is user mobility? This refers to the fact that no matter which machine the user is logged in. Of course, today a user may log in one machine and next day he may log in another machine. So he should not know in which machine he logged in. From anyway, he must able to get details. Today he may work on one machine and the next day he may work on another machine. That's why this refers to the fact that no matter which machine the user is logged on, they can be able to access the resource with the same name. Suppose a user X is there. Today he logged on the machine node 1 and he worked. Next day he logged on to another machine that's in node 2 with the same name X. At the same time, he must able to retrieve the same data, the previous day data from this second machine. So user must able to log into any machine and he must able to get all the details from all the machines. So that is location transparency. From any location, the user must able to access his resource. So these two will fall under location transparency. And next one is replication transparency. Replication means number of copies, duplicate copies. Here in distributed system, what is replication transparency? In distributed system, for better performance and for better reliability, almost all distributed systems have the facility to create copies of data, additional copies of data, additional copies of files on different nodes. This is compulsory. This is very important. Number of copies must be maintained in a distributed system in different nodes. If data on a node is removed or deleted accidentally, then the same number of copies are available on another machine. Like that, replication is also very. That's why replication is explained here as for better performance and reliability, almost all distributed operating systems have the provision to create replicas, that means additional copies of the files and other resources on different nodes of the distributed system. So this will give much more security to the data. If data in one node is damaged, the same data will be available in another machine. If a particular machine is failed while working, so data from another machine will be used. With the help of the data, the system will continue working. So replication transparency is also very important. And another transparency is failure transparency. What is failure transparency? While working, the system may fail at the middle. While working, some part of the system or some machines in the system may fail. These details must not be affected the user work. These must not affect the user work. So, failure transparency deals with masking from the user about the partial failures in the system, such as communication link failure or a machine failure or storage device crash, like that. Then a distributed operating system having failure transparency. These failure details must not be revealed to the user. These failure details must not be expressed by the system to the user. This failure may be anything. That may be communication link failure, or a machine failure, or a storage device crash, whatever it may be. These details must not be displayed. These details, user must not know all these details. That's why failure transparency deals with the masking from the user about the partial failures in the system. What are the partial failures? Communication link may failure. A cable may disconnect. A particular machine may fail. A storage device or a hard disk may crash. Even in these failures also, the remaining entire distributed system must continue executing the process. That is called as failure transparency. Migration transparency. In this migration transparency, objects must able to move from one location to another location. This is for better performance, reliability, and security reasons. In distributed systems, performance, reliability, security are very, very important aspects. On these features only a distributed system depends. These must not be disturbed. Performance must be maintained. The system must be reliable. And the system, at the same time, the system must be secured also. So, due to these reasons, migration transparency is for better performance, for better reliability, and for better security reasons. An object that is capable of moving is after migrated from one node to another is called as migration transparency. So this must be achieved in a distributed system. And the next transparency is concurrency. What is concurrency? This means each user, that may he or she, will have the feeling that he is the sole user of the system. No other user logged in. Every user must have the feel that he is only the single user of the system. No other user is using at the same time. So this feel must provide by a distributed system to the user. So concurrency can be explained here as follows. It means that each user has a feeling that he or she is the sole user. They are the single user. He or she is the sole user of the system, and other users do not exist in the system. So that feel all the user must get. That is called as concurrency. And the next one is performance transparency. Here, this performance transparency must be maintained carefully because a system may get different loads at different situations. At a particular time, the system may get heavy load. At a particular time, the system may get very less load. So the distributed system must able to adjust automatically as per the loads. If the load became high, then it must able to adjust the load to the available ideal loads. If the load is less, correspondingly, automatically, it must be adjusted. So, based on this adjustment only, the performance will be maintained in a constant manner. That's why performance transparency can be explained as the aim of performance transparency is to allow the system to be automatically reconfigured. It must be automatically reconfigured without the user interaction to improve the performance as the load varies dynamically in the system. The load vary, of course, that is natural. Varying loads on the distributed system is very common. That's very frequent. When the load vary, when the load gets up and down, then the system must automatically adjust the loads. User should not interfere into that. It must automatically adjust the loads and the performance must be maintained constantly. That is called as performance transparency. Scaling transparency. What is scaling transparency? It's very simple. We must able to expand the system very easily without disturbing the existing activities. So, scaling transparency can be explained as the aim of scaling transparency is to allow the system to expand and scale. Automatically, it can be expandable. So, we must able to expand it in scale without disturbing the activities of the users. While trying to expand the system, the user activities must not disturb. The user must continue his procedures. The user must continue his work. For maintenance, the system must not be stopped for a particular period. So, we must able to expand the system without disturbing the remaining users' works. That is called as scaling transparency. It also must be maintained while designing the distributed system. These are the transparencies: scaling transparency, performance transparency, concurrency, migration. Like that, we have different type of transparencies in a distributed system. We must able to handle all the transparencies. And remaining, we have several concepts related to distributed system designing. These concepts we will discuss in our next video. That's in fourth video. Thank you.